Hambini fans, and welcome to another episode of Hambini Reams. In today's episode, those of you who are avid viewers of my Instacrap and community posts on YouTube will know that a few months ago I decided to engage in an experiment, which was to try and get a gravel bike as cheap as possible. Now the objective of that was because I didn't think I would like gravel, so I thought, why bother spending loads on it, and I bought the cheapest bike available. And this is it. So we've got the vast majority of this bike I bought from LightCarbon. It was an anonymously purchased bike. The wheels are also from the same sort of family, LightCarbon ProX. The only thing that really isn't from there is the group set, which is Shimano GRX, the computer, which is iGPS Sport, and the handlebar tape, which I got from Amazon. The frame itself is a LightCarbon GO71 gravel frame. It does come in a few different colours. This, on camera, I've seen it looks a lot whiter than it does in real life. It's quite a silvery colour, and the writing on it is a slightly darker shade of silver. The forks come with these mounting bosses. Now the main reason I bought this is because the mounting bosses allow me to put whatever aerodynamic contraptions that I wanted onto the front of it. But you can also get the fork without these rib nuts put in. It's a disc brake bike, and these are the ProX wheels for it. They're not particularly special, and I've put fat tyres on it, so it's, I think they're 45mm Maxxis tyres, not particularly fast, but for gravel riding I haven't really had any issues with them. I would almost call it MTB light. There's plenty of spokes on there. It's just run-of-the-mill wheel construction. It's designed basically not to break. Then up here, these handlebars come with the bike, and they're very well designed. I've seen this type of handlebar on a few different types of bikes. So this one, and also the Windspace, and I think Farsports also sell them. Gear levers are basically just bog standard Shimano. So yeah, click in there to go down the cassette, and then click the whole thing over to go up the cassette. It's been like that for ages, and they're hydraulic, so you can pull that and then screech to a halt, or have them rub, whatever you want. This is the iGPS Sport cycling computer. This is really very good. I was sent one of these to try. I thought it was going to be garbage, but it was excellent, absolutely excellent. Well worth the purchase if you want to have a go with one. I've also got a review of that elsewhere on the channel. Other side is it does nothing really. If you've got a dropper seat post, you can hook it up so that it will bring the post down. This handlebar tape was like £4 from Amazon. It is crap, and it was installed by an even crapper person, but it's garbage. Stick with Chinelli or something like that. The routing through these handlebars is completely integrated. It's internal. These two mounts move the cycle computer forward and backwards, and it also comes with a GoPro mount. It's got little rubber plugs, so you can take them out. I'm not going to do that now because it's a bit of a faff to get back in. You can take them out to make it easier for you to get the cables through. The cables run through there, down there, and then through here. Now these parts are the stem spacers, so you can raise and lower it. So I've just got, I don't know, 5 or 6 millimeters in there. Headset, it uses standard MH series bearings, so you're not going to have too many issues with them. I'll show you some pictures of that later on. It's a 1.5 inch basis top bearing and 1.5 inch basis lower bearing. The cables go through the bearing aperture, so you won't have any of those specialized type diggings into the steerer. Now this assembly, as I said earlier, is used on loads of bikes, so it's a fairly well proven design. Not much really to talk about the wheel, the bottle holder, other than it's mucky. Down here is the front mech assembly. I'm running 1X transmission, so I've taken it off, but it does come with the bike. GRX 1X transmission. It's a BB86 bottom bracket that's in there. I had no issues with it, and the frame fitment was really quite good. There's a couple of additional mounts for another bottle holder if you want. Over here I've got some more bosses for mudguards or fenders, and then around here is the seat clamp. So it's a standard aluminium seat clamp, seat post and clamping arrangement on this bike. There's nothing really, you know, to write home about. It just works, and that's really all I want. The bolts and things are of a Chinese spec, so when you look at these, the holders on them and the heads are slightly smaller than DIN spec or ISO. So if you, I mean, you could use a DIN spec bolt in there, but I'm just pointing it out. This seat doesn't come with the purchase, so I've got that separately. Seat clamp itself to move the seat post up and down is through here. So there's an Allen key in there, and then there's a wedge assembly in there. It's actually all well hidden, and there's a rubber seal that goes around it to keep the crap out. Now at the back is a fairly run-of-the-mill assembly, so it's a cable operated group set. You can obviously use Di2 or AXS if you want. There's no real issues, nothing really to write home about. I probably routed this cable a bit too long, but it works, so that's the main thing. And what's it like to ride? Well, riding around these roads is fine because it's just on tarmac. When it gets a bit dusty and dirty and bumpy, then it really comes into its own. You can just basically just take the bike anywhere. So you can just ride along, mind your own business. Not a lot happens, you can just ride the bike anywhere. LightCarbon follow my Instagram, and they saw that I was riding around on one of their bikes, so they sent me a frame to cut up. And that's what I've done. I've cut the frame up so we can see internally what it's like. Now obviously it could be a Hambini special, but I've checked this one, obviously checked the anonymously bought one, and there's not really too much of a difference, so we'll go through this one. So in the PowerPoint I'll go through this in detail, but I mean you can see the seats are very well moulded. Everything else is very, very clean, and this is really to do with the way they're making them now. So they're using moulds as opposed to bladders to manufacture them, and the bottom bracket assembly getting much better tolerances on there as well. As I said, we'll go through the PowerPoint in detail of this. The only real scabby area is here, and that's partly because I had problems cutting in here because of the geometry, so I've chewed that up a bit, but nonetheless the compaction around here is problematic for any kind of bike frame, and that's probably the only scabby bit. Is it going to be a showstopper? Not really. The rest of it, I mean around here, other bits where you've got varying cross section, it's really good. Right, it is that time of the show again. It is time for PowerPoint. Gravel on the cheap, and we need to check the pen is working, because Buy Hambini Age 5 isn't working because I've managed to delete it. Anyway, we'll get that fixed shortly for the next episode. I mean, joking aside, this is really a exercise in engineering risk reduction. This is the list of the things I've bought and the cost. Now, you may or may not get these with like discounts involved. When I mean that, I don't mean personal Hambini discounts, but sometimes they offer free delivery and all that kind of stuff. So the frame was $700 and the wheels were $450. If you buy them together, you ended up paying $1150 for that lot. The group set, now I bought this locally, so that was bought in the UK, so that has the VAT already on it. And the other thing is, if you do buy from China, sometimes you have to pay VAT and duty, other times you don't. It doesn't seem to be that consistent. Pedals, tyres, seats, the leftovers, I've said $200 for that, but you know, you can have whatever you want on that, but just bear in mind you get the handlebars, the seat post, and a lot of the bike already with the carbon frame. Total is $2,160, which is just a little under, I think it was 1,800 UK pounds, which for a gravel bike that you're basically riding out of the showroom is not too bad, in my opinion. It's actually the cheap end of it. This is the breakdown of the cost as a pie chart. Now, if you look at this, the big expenditure is the Shimano GRX group set. And that's one thing that, you know, I could have bought something cheaper than that. Could have probably got Sora or something like that and then whacked that on. But I didn't. So that's what I went with, the gravel group set. The LightCarbon frame is about 30% of the total value of it, and the ProX wheels are 23%. Now, where I spent the money, this is one of these things where you basically pick two from low cost, performance and durability. So in the case of the frame, it's not particularly expensive. Now this frame is available as an OEM frame from a large number of different suppliers. So they sell as an open mold, let's call it, to various brand names. So you can get it probably from Dolan or somebody else, I don't know. Low cost, it is durable, and I'll come to that in the next thing, because it's not the lightest. So in some respects it's over-engineered or fail-safe rather than safe life. It's the same for the wheels. Again, they are low cost, you know, $400, $500. That is really, really low for set wheels. Durable, I mean, we've had them on the show before. There wasn't really anything wrong with them. They were just heavy. These aren't, I wouldn't say overtly heavy, but they're not, you know, super lightweight. And then the group set, this is where I didn't really, I mean, the first two items here are items where they could put you in hospital. So I didn't want to skimp on that, hence durable. Durable. Do you really care how much it weighs when you're lying in the emergency room? Probably not. And then the group set. Now this is something you have to live with on a fairly routine basis every time you shift. Do you want to be going up to a hill, clunk the gear lever, and all of a sudden the chain drops off? No. And that's why I spent that money on the group set. Now I probably could have got a cheaper Shimano group set, but you know, that's what I did. The L2 and the sensor, yes, they were other options, but every man and his dog has one of them. And if you ask me with my engineering hat on, I don't think they're quite there yet. But the Shimano drivetrain is a proven design. There are a couple of things that I hate on this bike. The first is the brake discs. They do not last long at all. Crap. But I do aero testing with them, so that's why they're there. And the other is the 1X drivetrain. I'm not a fan of that. I think I prefer the 2X drivetrain. It gives you a wider range. This is the frame that I chopped up. So you can see in here, I mean, it's very clean. I mean, look at the bottom bracket area on that. There's hardly anything wrong with that. Now, if you were to get a really expensive frame and said, you know, that's the bottom bracket area, would you be worried about that? Not really. There's very few wrinkles or tenting. Yeah, there's some there, but it's not like BMC levels. And I think that's to do with the way this frame's been made. They've started to go away from the bladder and then go towards, like, I think they call it EPS molds. It's much cleaner than that. Obviously, this one could be a Hambini Special. I mean, the one I've checked hasn't got any of that either. So, and that was bought anonymously. So I don't think, you know, the way that it's made is going to be the same whether it's a Hambini Special or if you buy it anonymously. The fundamentals are the same. This is a close-up of, well, we'll just call it the scabby bit. This is the intersection. So that's the seat tube. And this is like, I think they call them mono stays. So the seat stay is here. That is a close-up of it. So to give you some context, that is, I think, M6. Could be M5. So it's like 6mm or 5mm. So the pitch on there, if it's M6, I think is 0.8. Or M6 by 1mm. Yeah, M6 by 1. I think M5 is 0.8. Those small kind of threads I don't deal with on a daily basis. And M8 is it 1.25? Anyway, so that distance between there and there is 1mm. I'm pretty sure it is. Or it could be 0.8, but anyway, it's a very small number. So that's the effectively the riv nut that's gone in. Now when I showed some of this to my Instagram viewers, they were commenting on this, which they said is a void, and this, which they also said is a void. Now, it's not actually a void in the carbon. This looks like a void in the adhesive. So this section here is the male component, and this bit around here is the female component. So it's like a socket joint. That I think is adhesive, and also here is adhesive. That is an air pocket. Now looking at the location of that, and this is an age-old problem, you get this whether you're designing a bike or whether you're designing aircraft wings. When you push the thing in, there's a bit at the back which air cannot escape from, so there's no way that air can get out, so you end up with basically a cavity because the air cannot get out. And that's, you know, what's happened in this frame. Now, is it a problem? Not really. This looks messy, but to be honest, half of this, the problem is, I mean, you can see it, look at the blade marks through here. That tends to trash the leading edge of the, you know, whether the incision mark through the section is. Is it the best? No. Is it the worst? No. It's just somewhere in the middle, and it's more related to the way the bike is designed, but it's not something that you probably would put you off. This is a larger length, you know, quite commonly open frames have issues around here. That's not a void, that is where the blade has done that to that section. So, you know, don't worry about that. I mean, the carbon through here is decent compaction all the way around. There's nothing really there. Nothing, absolutely nothing. I would say that was a fairly well made piece of carbon, really. There's not much to add. Now, one of the criticisms, I guess the comments that I've made in this video is weight. Now, when you buy the ProX or the LightCarbon, you basically have the low cost because of the weight. And when I was at Eurobike, they kind of addressed this, and they showed me a couple of wheels which were really quite impressive. This is a carbon wheel with this wavy profile a la Princeton and SRAM. So the combined weight of that, 0.67 and 0.55, so you're looking at around 1200 grams, which takes ProX LightCarbon from, you know, heavyweight to right up there with the elites, the 9 Velos, the wind spaces of the world. And that's, you know, that's where we are. Now, this is a bit more subjective rather than objective. This bike has basically become my go-to bike. This is just what I ride anywhere because it is so versatile. So you've got the ability just to go up curbs, go around anything. You just take it anywhere. And also gravel riding, which is basically just like a glorified dirt track, is quite therapeutic for me because you don't have all the traffic, you don't have all the cars, and then if you fall off, you're not going that fast anyway. So I can see why it's popular. It's almost like MTB light. Now this project, let's call it this build project, has really been an exercise in engineering risk reduction. So where I've spent the money, I've spent it for the durability or for the lack of putting me in hospital. And that's something you should consider because, you know, ProX LightCarbon, they are miles away. And that's something that is, you know, people in the West are concerned with because they don't have anyone to go after if it all goes wrong. So go and buy a frame that's cheap that isn't going to fail. And that leads me on to the last point. The frame and the wheels are extremely good value for money because you're basically getting, you know, the vast majority of the bike for a little over $1,000.
I mean, they're not the lightest, but whoever's engineered it has designed it to be fail-safe rather than safe life. So by that, what I mean is if you subject something through a number of cycles, it will fail after a certain number of them. Let's say it's 10,000. In the case of fail-safe, after 10,000, something breaks, but you are still able to ride it. And that's how modern aircraft are designed. Safe life will be something that's got built-in obsolescence. So, for example, a hammer drill, once it gets to 100,000 beats, that's it. His life's gone. It's not going to put you in hospital, but all the parts are rated for that sort of time. That is it. Now, if you've got any questions or comments, please use the comment box below. I do read all of your comments. I may not answer them all, but I do read them all. And that's it. If you've got any questions, then yeah, use the box below. And as always, keep banging your hairdresser.